Hey guys, how's it going today? Sorry for the late video on this. Snapchat actually released their quarterly earnings yesterday, and they were quite horrendous. This is as of today. We saw the stock retreat over 14%. It's down slightly after hours. This stock has been under quite some pressure for quite some time. I mean, if you look at from the debut of the IPO, it's been tanking here. Some of the reasons here, we can go over this quickly. Revenues are actually up 62% to 208 million. But this is well below analyst estimates of 238 million, so that's a pretty big beat there. Um, they had a huge loss of 443 million, and that's compared to 124 million last year. So again, that's huge, and that's reflected in the EPS here. And we'll talk more about this later. A loss of 36 cents per share. Um, I found this kind of interesting that the daily active users actually grew by 4.5 million. And for kind of I guess Snapchat isn't really small, but for just this company, that seems like quite a bit when you actually think about that. 4.5 million. Um, it's only 3%. But I think that's quite significant. When you think that everybody has Snapchat, well, it actually grew. So that's a little bit of a positive that I see there. Also, a comment from the chief executive here. That I tend to agree with is they were saying that Snapchat, the UI was a little difficult and a little difficult and hard to understand and to use, and they're thinking of redesigning it a bit to make it a little bit more user friendly. Personally, I think that's a good thing. I agree with that. I think that would be a positive for the company. Although I've heard some people say quite the opposite. That's a wrong move when they're just building momentum. Why would they change it? But myself, I found it kind of a counterintuitive interface, a lot of hidden features, and just kind of clumsy in some ways. I find it wasn't very intuitive, and then I'm a millennial that has grown up with technology, and I've always found it kind of strange. But I'd like to know what you guys think. Leave a comment down below. One of the biggest, or not one of the biggest reasons, but one of the reasons they also did lose was they had a massive loss on their spectacles, which is basically their play the AR market, which I think is going to be huge in the future. Um, but I think companies like Apple and Microsoft are going to be leading in this category. And does Snapchat really have the platform to leverage off to make our AR a hit? Basically, what these glasses were, where they were just to take snaps on. They look kind of silly, in my opinion. Um, and they ended up losing something to the effect of 40 million. It's not relevant. These things probably won't be around much longer anyway, but it's kind of showing how they're trying to do something to drive revenue, to get out into different, not trying to be a one trick pony, to try to get out and do different things, but it's not working so well. Um, so if you look at their financials, this isn't actually the last quarter that was just reported, but it's kind of interesting to look at it here. Um, Mainly, what I'm interested in when I'm looking at this is what the revenue, how it's growing, whatnot, the expenses, also the balance sheet. Although they're going to have quite a bit of debt and whatnot on this, but if you look at the cash flow statement here, we also see that they are issuing a bit of shares here. So I take that into account when I'm looking at the valuation of the company. Um, so to go back to this, we're looking at getting pretty close. I would imagine pretty soon to having 1 billion shares outstanding. So if I compare it to a company like Facebook that has, say, 2 billion shares outstanding and is trading at 33 times earnings, one positive for this company is if they could manage not to dilute their shareholder too much, and even it might be a little difficult to do, but get even somewhere near a dollar per share, um, that could mean that this is a pretty cheap price. But the question is whether or not they can increase revenue that much while keeping expenses under control to actually get there. In my opinion, I don't really think they have a chance. I think they're too much of a one-trick pony at this time, but I do see the possibility when I look into the numbers. So I wouldn't be interested in getting into this right now, but if it falls even further, um, then I might consider it. I might consider it. I don't see where this company is going. I don't see what their big plan is, how they're going to drive uh, revenue 10 times or more. It just doesn't seem feasible to me. But I'd like to know what you guys think. You can leave a comment down below. But one thing that kind of makes me wonder is This company, I've actually never heard of it. Tencent takes a big stake in Snapchat stock. So this actually happened today. Um, they took a 10% stake. That's pretty huge. When the price dropped here today, and now I believe that they own up to 12% because they actually bought some before. So this company, if I recall here, is basically I'm not sure if it says it here, but they're basically here we go. They're one of the largest internet companies in the world, acquiring stakes in Snap. Okay, that's when it went in Snap there. It's known for its investments in smartphones, web portals, mobile games, and tech startups in Asia. So they obviously see some value there, and that's why they went down big, 10%. That's a huge stake. Take this for what it's worth, but I thought it was some kind of interesting news. But this one is really, it's kind of interesting when you look at it, what's been going on, how they're going to drive that revenue, what's going to happen. It'd be very interesting to see how it trades, especially tomorrow. I think it'll probably be down a little bit more, but it's something definitely to keep an eye on. And if we see this thing tank below 10 even further, it could be a good buying opportunity depending on what the circumstances are. Anyway, I'll leave it there for tonight. If you guys, again, have any questions or comments, leave them down below, and I'll talk to you later. Thanks. Bye.